Hey everyone, welcome back to the Modern Car Wash podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Zalaznik. Normally I'm joined with Shane Groff, but Shane we'll say he's on assignment today. But we are excited that we have Chris Michael from Express Carwash on the show. Chris, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I gotta assume that you guys are some of the busiest people in the car wash industry, especially given what Express Car Wash does the last couple of years with the growth of the industry. How was your day today?
Well, our day's going pretty good. We've got a lot of teams throughout the country moving and shaking. We're actually in the next 2 weeks moving into a new facility, and so there's a bunch of hype around the office and things getting boxed up. So it's an interesting time for us as we expand to a new facility, about 5x the square footage into 100,000 square feet, new offices to really help us on our next leg in this industry growth cycle, and also where Express Car Wash is going.
Oh, awesome. So for those who don't know, you hear Express Car Wash, maybe our audience is thinking you're an operator, but you're not an operator. What is Express Car Wash exactly?
Well, we were operators. That's where our story began. But when we say Express Car Wash or EC, we're really talking about expresscarwash.com. And so we started in the operations, owning and operating. I came into the industry a little over a decade ago. In the recession, I bought my first car wash. My family was in the car business. My grandfather's store back there was an old Studebaker store. We had car dealerships for a long time, and then my family exited. So I started washing cars at the dealerships, and then I ended up buying my first car wash in the recession. Scott Besh, my partner, helped me build my first tunnel. We became of like heart and mind. Started expresscarwash.com, Express Car Wash Equipment, because guys kept asking us to kind of help build car washes, service car washes. We thought if we could do one or two a year and have a couple service techs, that'd be great. That's grown into a large organization as of itself. We've had multiple retail locations and multiple brands, but today we have Express Car Wash, which is a nationwide, headed it to multinational service distribution company. And so really a turnkey solution and a flexible solution for people where we work on all types of equipment, and all types of washes, right? So my first car wash was a self-serve, hand bay, in-bay automatics. Built my first tunnel. We've owned, operated, and serviced just about any type of machine that washes a car.
So like I said, you're a pretty busy guy, as the company is, I'm sure. Yeah. It's funny hearing you go through a new office. So our office, Hoffman Car Wash, Hoffman Development, pre-pandemic, we were like a can of sardines above one of our locations. I mean, 2-3 to an office. There were people in the closets, essentially, like trying to get work done. So it's and our president always say it's good to work for a company that's growing. So just walk the scope of Express Car Wash. So you're moving into a new office building. I'm assuming warehousing and all that fun stuff as well. How many people would you say kind of day to day are in the same vicinity as you?
Yeah. So in office, there's only probably 10 to 15 people in office every day, Monday through Saturday in that facility. The service techs, install crews come in and out, deploy from there. Most of our foremen live in the Midwest and deploy to the coast. Truck trailer, just to give you a scope of that, I wrote it down earlier today. I had one in Minnesota. I've got a team in Boise. I have a team in Louisiana right now and in Washington, D.C. So almost to the extreme four corners in some way right now that are out and about. Those will all deploy from Kansas City. We're here in the Midwest. That's where we hub out of, but we service and install throughout the country and into Canada now as well.
So is it these guys they're deployed or they're out there? How much is it? I'm assuming they're very good at their jobs, but how often do you guys get thrown a little wrench in the operation? You got to move fast, or is it pretty smooth sailing at this point?
No, I don't want to say it's smooth sailing. Car wash is a complex machine. It's done a little bit different. There's not two car washes anywhere in the country that are exactly the same for whatever reason, even inside the same brand, same equipment. In the same way that we help people build a car wash from ground up or remodel, we're always trying to match the machine to the market and the profitability back to the P&L. And so each one of those have a little different zest about them. And the way you wash a car in Minnesota to Texas to DC to Boise, Florida, all those have a little bit different nuances to them that they're trying to address. So it's always not a repeatable process. We always consider ourselves kind of the hot rod people in the industry, right? You can go buy a Ford, Chevy, or Dodge off the lot, and they're all kind of the same. But if you want a Ford engine and a Dodge transmission and a Chevy interior, we're kind of those guys. We're also the guys to work on that as well. We understand the fundamentals behind the equipment and the goals that you're trying to make. So a guy that's trying to only do 80,000 cars a year versus somebody that's trying to do 400,000, the machine's got to be different. People have different capital that they want to deploy and different expectations on that, and you got to make the machine deliver on it. So at the end of it.
You talked about kind of going into a market or working with a client. You're trying to actually, and like most businesses, right? You just want to maximize profits. From maybe the last year or two, what do you feel are maybe like the lowest hanging fruit for people to, or maybe they're just missing the boat profitability wise?
Well, one is remodeling current facilities in the landscape that we're going to, which is competitive, not saturated, in my opinion. You want to be able to look at what your current offering is. And if you projected, if your payments or your projections are over 20 to 30 years, there is going to have to be CapEx at some time. And you have a permanent piece of property that has a customer base right now, you want to make sure that you're investing in that. And those investments can be a few $100,000 to a few million of dollars in a retrofit of the exterior, a facelift there, and an improvement to the tunnel as well. If you look back, some of these tunnels were built pre-membership and weren't necessarily designed to run the volumes that we see today in the industry wide. And so that is a good investment dollar. We see a high return. I have clients that have had 2 and 3x EBITDA movements after they've invested in a current facility. I know that the cool thing is to say we're building a new car wash, we're expanding, we have 2 coming online next year. I always say, well, what is your current estate producing? The best real estate may be what you already own and that you can maximize. And so I think too many people today don't look at what they already own because it's sexy to build new, right? But there's a whole different aspect where Express Carwash can come in, and we really want to understand what your goals are, what you have today. And maybe the best $2 million you can spend is not buying a new piece of dirt. It's investing in the 10-year-old car wash that you got. That, hey, let's put another pay station in, a cashier hut, a little exterior remodel, prep, non-prep. We can look at that through your throughput, how your design is, vacuum amenities. I feel like the number one battleground in the industry right now is in the vacuums. And the amenities that we give, towels, air, canopies, all those things that kind of differentiate the tangible customer experience there. So you ask what the best dollars are to spend or where that return is. I think it's current owners looking at their current estate and saying, what can I get? Because you can spend $2 million. You may be able to bump EBITDAs, a few $100,000. That's a great percentage return. Some of these guys are several $100,000, right? That's the best ROI you can get currently. And it's less risky. It's a known asset. It's not greenfield. The other thing is permits are harder and harder every day, right? So, let's maximize the permit you already got.
Yeah. It's kind of refreshing to hear you say that, because Hoffman Car Wash over the last couple of years has done a lot of remodeling, even though from the outsider standpoint, probably doesn't look that way. But our equipment is pretty much online at all of our locations. It's the same experience from one location to the next. And I think you touched to it on the vacuums. That was a big step for us too, is moving to a free vacuum model. We're not completely free vacs everywhere. There are some issues we have with sites and everything, but kind of, looking at those areas to improve on 15, 20, 25-year-old buildings. And the stores that we have taken steps to remodel, like we certainly see growth in those stores. And some of these stores were, they were B, C-list stores for us, and now they have moved up a category for sure. With that being said, we do have a lot of shovels in the ground, and we're building and we're expanding. And I think one of the things that we look at is, how to build a site cheaper. And I'm sure a lot of people, you want to maybe not make such a big investment, but making sure that you're not losing quality there. Any insights there on, maybe how not to overspend on a new build?
Yeah, I think it's match the machine to the market. I'll say that a lot because it's a core philosophy of ours. It depends upon your traffic count, your demographics, your competitive landscape that you're looking there. The less is not always more in this scenario. And so efficiency of the dollar spend is there. To that, if you want to, the word cheap mostly represents also the end outcome is going to feel and look cheap as well. So we just really want to go back to say, what's the capital you want to deploy? What's the return that you want to get on that, and make a machine that will do that on the location that'll do that. You're going to get your the best potential is going to be in the ground day one, and what we put on top of it just needs to maximize that, right? If we go pick a cornfield, we probably just need to do a self-serve, and spend $50,000 on it, and it may return great, right? The farmers may stop there and wash their trucks, and that's a pretty good return. If we're downtown on 60,000 cars and the permits are hard and we get one, man, let's look at putting a double tunnel in, interior express detailing, those things, right? We were very blessed to be a part of, the flagship big indoor car wash. We did all of that work. To our knowledge, it was the largest, most expensive wash that was done in the U.S. Up to date. But the dirt told you to do that. The demographics told you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build that everywhere.
You have almost like a formula or starting point. You're like, okay, we're going to build it, and this is the location, or this is the community that this person wants to build in. Mm-hmm. All right, here are the demographics. Here's the traffic count, etc. And you're like, okay, this gets a point. This gets a point. All right, this equals 160-foot tunnel and these amenities. Or is it more just kind of like almost like you're using your experience and your gut? How do you approach that?
Well, we have a lot of data to back things up, but at the beginning, and I think where we're a little bit different here at Express is, I'm going to get to, let's say, Kevin, you're the person that calls in, says, I want to get a car wash, or I want to build my 30th car wash. Okay, what is your personal or your organizational goals with that, and what's the why behind it? And do you want to do more of the same, or do you want to think ahead and be a little bit different to what that is? To state where that comes in and some real practices, we've got clients that are infilling current buildings because they maybe bought 100,000 feet of an old grocery store. They subdivided it, put in some different things. The guy really wanted a more consistent return than to grow, and do 20 car washes. That's different than the guy that's adding his 30th that says, we want to do pretty much the exact same that what we want to do. Financially, we want to be in a little bit cheaper or more realistic to what we can do. So, that's a different story, and because they're different people at the end of the day. And, we're trying to fill people's buckets up with them emotionally and the time that they want to spend. Some people want to be owner operators. We do give the opportunity. We'll come in as an operator even if other people own the real estate and the building and those things there too. So I can't give a direct answer because we're flexible. We are the flexible people to it. I'm never going to put anybody in a box to what we need to be.
You talk about the data and just like the conversations you probably have on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you're probably so in tune to the industry and where it's heading. And I'm curious, when you look at maybe the last 10 years and look forward to the next 10 years, what has excited you the most about the industry, or what's there to come that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in two different ways. What excites me and what am I looking forward to are a little bit different. What excites me is that the consumer appetite, I still think, is growing in the U.S. Some bit. The consumer appetite outside of the U.S. for express car washing and that model and a membership-based, I think, is massive. It's extremely untapped globally. And so that does excite me. I think that's going to be a potential there. Inside the U.S., I think it's really interesting if you look at Driven and Mister and the stock and how the public markets, which have really driven the last 5 years, PE getting in and REITs and how that's done, and now coming to an actual public viewing of that. And I think those guys are top class. I think, unfortunately, the public markets probably are just being a little tough on them for where they're at in the moment. But I think that sets the precedence in the future, right? I think the days of selling 10 times are gone. It was a momentary deal. Now, interest rates come back down. That could change. But obviously, that was really fueled by refinancing on the underlying that they were going to get the depreciation under the current program, and money was cheap. So that was fueling a bunch of the growth. That was the financing that was doing the growth. It was the financing that was getting the M&A done there. So both of those are changing, and I think changed quicker than anybody anticipated. If we roll the dial back a year, there were still deals getting done at a big multiple, right? And REITs were day of closing, picking up that stuff at really good cap rates. That's not there today. And so I think where we're headed is a new world where I see many mom and pops. I will call Hoffman a mom and pop. I think they're best of breed. You guys are 40 location, but you are privately held on a family, on a legacy there, right? These people are re-energized, right? We all kind of feared some of the bigger people coming in. I think there's great big operators in there now too, but they are having to change where they entered the market at, and we're going to expand and finance that expansion and continue to hit metrics. That day is over, and it will be different. It won't be as bad as they fear, won't be as good as we hope, but it will be different. With that being said, I think what you're going to see is a reinvestment in current footprints to maximize return. There's going to be many more remodels of assets that are 10 plus years in age. I mean, it is 2023, 24. So somebody built a car wash and there was a big surge right before the recession in 2010. Bigger surge, probably, 15 to 20. But, that entire part of the estate is going to have to be retouched. It's already permitted. It's either financed well on the ground or paid off. And I think you're going to see a bunch put back into that stuff there. De novos are going to get tough. I think that's going to be a pretty tough road to hoe for the entire industry. Talk a lot of different projections. Is it going to fall off a cliff? No, but the hockey stick moment of growth for everybody, I believe, is over. We'll build new stores as an industry. Express will, Innovate will, Hoffman will. We just won't do it at the same pace of that. But I do think consumer demand kind of keeps going up, and we just focus on what we already got and doing a little bit more out of what we currently have.
From like a consumer demand standpoint, you look at all indications are like we're heading towards some sort of recession, maybe early part of next year. In your experience going through one, 15 years ago, I guess how best do you think people can or operators can prepare for some sort of recession, or is the industry recession proof?
It's not, nothing is recession proof. It's not going to go off a cliff. It will expose those right now, those that are barely making it won't make it, which is 10 to 20% of the industry, right? But that's in every other type of retail business. You are going to see, now I've always believed, and I saw in any other blips, we are an affordable luxury, right? We're talking about a $20 ticket to make, and at the end of the day, I really believe, we're bringing self-esteem at the end of the day. You feel better about your car when you leave. So it is a $20, I call it a high. We all feel good, right? You put on fresh clothes or whatever that is, beds made. It's the same thing about cleaning your car. And we can do that in 3 minutes for $20 or whatever. So, there is going to be, we already see it. You can see it in the public markets. There's some menu trading down. There's some change happening there. Retail traffic will slough off a little bit, 10, 20%. Membership conversions, probably rates will go down a hair. But at the end of the day, people will still want their car washed. The units may go down. Our gross average ticket may go up because you will have some bit of transfer from membership to back to retail, which is a higher gross per unit, but obviously a less gross dollar on the year. So we'll change again. As an industry, we'll change, but it's not detrimental. It will call out some of the bad actors in the industry, which it needs to do, and it will reset some people's growth paths to more healthier. So the good guys will still do good, and bad guys will board it up, and it'll be torn down. Or if it's a good lot permitted, it'll still sell. The dirt is still worth it. The four wall, if it can be resurrected, will be. We've had a couple really good success stories of guys buying people that were going broke, doing a little bit of work, a little bit of CapEx to it. Can be a really good success story.
Yeah, I'm curious. So for our listeners, and they're like, am I a good guy or am I a bad guy? How would you define? I guess if you'd probably know it already, but I'm curious how you define.
If you got to ask yourself that question,
you're a bad guy.
I doubt Tom Hoffman asked himself that question today.
That's good.
But but there's a lot of great guys there, and they're going to change their business too. Stress will make you change or make you break.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm curious. I've been, so we've been on for just over 20 some minutes, and this whole time I've been sitting here looking at a giant ticket behind your head.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious what the story is.
Yeah. So, the story is we all got one life to live. We got an expiration. Every day is precious to us. I've been very blessed to be raised in a family that brought a great faith, Christian faith to me. And, I don't have any fear. I believe in Lord, my Savior. And so I'm going to heaven. So I always want to use my one life to kind of bring positivity, joy to everybody else in life. And I want to walk in my office every day and remember, I don't get a reset. This day is precious. I personally have experienced loss in my life at a momentary notice. And, I just need to bring that positive attitude to everybody in our organization and everybody that we go around. And then also, I'll tell you the truth, and it sounds a little corny, but I know that our organization is bringing today, boy, I should do the number, but we talked about it in the past. We're going to make 1 million people happy this year out of car washes we built, or more. That's a round up. Well, so many, and we are building a machine that brings good self-esteem to people. And so, know how hard the day is. And, I got guys in 100-degree heat blowing out a conveyor today. And I mean, that's hard work. And I gotta make sure that one, their families are taken care of. They're putting in the time to make sure that later on they can give it back to their loved ones too. But yeah, it's a reminder every day that I come in. We've got one life, no resets on it, no reset on the day. And, how do I put people in a great position to be successful, whether that's inside of our company or they want to be in the car wash industry? That's what it's about, man. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
It's a great reminder, right? Like, see that every day. And I think what's remarkable, what you said was, you know, and I'm hoping our audience is more geared towards the operator and, you know, they're running their businesses. But I think there's crossover in the fact of, you know, your team is out there, you're building these car washes, you're building something that, like you said, it builds self-esteem and makes people feel good. And how do you convey that to your employees that, all right, yeah, it's, you know, I'm on an install in Dallas and it's 110 and the humidity's through the roof. And, but at the end of the day, like long term, like this, what I'm working on is going to have, and like you said, as corny as it sounds, like is going to have an impact on someone's day.
Well, we say it, we try to believe it. Some of the mottos that we have around here, and, you know, everybody that comes to work for us, we have an initial one that Nathan kind of brought up, and is we do hard things on purpose. So don't show up here today thinking that the day is going to be easy, no matter what that is. Car washing is a complex, mechanical device that we put retail customers that through there. You got a kid in the car seat, you got an elderly person. There's a lot of different things that are going to go through your machine. So this is going to be hard. It's a caustic environment with 180 volts and hydraulic pressure and air and systems and complex electronics. So, and point of sales that want to integrate, you know, to different things. So come to work prepared to be challenged. But at the end of the day, you're making somebody feel good about their number one publicly viewed asset. So whether they rent it, lease it, whether it's 20 years old or right, that's your car that you take through there, and you need to feel good about it. When it's clean, no matter what it looks like, an old jalopy or whatever, a brand new, you know, beautiful car, you got to feel good about it, and you will if it comes out clean, shiny, and dry at the end. So that's a machine that you're building today.
And you've said it a few times about, you know, you guys do hard things, like on purpose. You're out there doing hard things. Yeah. Has that been kind of the way you guys have steered the ship, or is it just something, you know what, from day one, we found ourselves in these difficult situations and we're not going to shy away from it?
I think Scott and I have been very entrepreneurial, and thought that there wasn't a problem that we couldn't come up with a solution with. And early on, there was some environments like in North Dakota that, you know, -40, how do you wash a car there? Even some of the things that we did with flagship internal belts, bringing them in, and the biggest, you know, car wash in the U.S. square footage. And I know that was at that time. And we knew that we've always had good people around us. I'm very proud to say that the first employee Scott and I hired, he's still with us today. He's probably on the road right now somewhere in Minnesota fixing hard problems. And we try to make sure it's a good work-life balance. People's cups are filled. With that, then we can go tackle the hard mechanical problems and know that, you know, you are going to battle with somebody to do that. And at the end of the day, we don't try to have an ego when we go into it and tell you that you have to do it this way. There are many ways to wash a car. Many ways. And what I've told everybody this whole time is, and when we've been in retail and we sold and we bought and what have you, nobody has got a higher multiple or a lower multiple because of the equipment that is in there, that tunnel. And they got to keep that in mind, right? So we can be emotional to maybe this works better or that, but at the end of the day, it is a tool to make money for you and your family and your company and bring a clean car to the client. And it needs, you know, that's what it is.
Are there any other industries that maybe you draw inspiration from or you're intrigued by?
You know what? I think I got blinders on every day. My wife would tell me, well, I'm not very good. I'm not good on social media or anything, but that's a great question. I can't come up with one right now that I'm really intrigued with, except for maybe commercial space travel. That may be, I am a little bit intrigued there. On my other wall, I've got a spaceship because I am intrigued that the fact of us commercializing that, it makes sense.
All right. Yeah, I think, well, Well, I think it's really anything where when you're in it every day, it's like you said, you have blinders on, you're so focused in on it. But I think there are times where, like, I'll find myself anyways, where it's like, okay, I know how this operation works, or, I know how, I know a little bit of the recipe. So, like, I don't know, going to Target or something, and you see like little nuances, and you're like, oh, I see how they incorporated that. Actually, like, we're doing that too, but a little bit differently. So,
I'll tell you this one. You're right. Now that I got a second, the airline industry and aviation in general, and how safe that is. We had the company read a book called The Checklist Manifesto last year. And the fact that the aviation over, these last decades have been able to become the safest form of transportation through checklist improvements and maintenance. And I tell our guys all the time this, when we talked about on a retail, we tell our managers, you have to learn how to land the plane and be able to do that on the mechanics of it. The pilot does not know how to fix the jet engine, but whatever goes wrong with that jet engine, he does know how to land the plane. On the other side, the mechanic does know how to do that, and he can understand the machine. There's predictability in it and the failure, and they know that, hey, if we do all these things right, I think it's the same as a chain and roller, bearing, all the things in a car wash, right? If you put that into your financial model and you feel good about it and know you won't run the same exact EBITDA, but we're really talking about 2 to 3 points different in PM here, you can have a car wash that's open 365, that's consistent there. And so that is an industry we look at as a bellwether. Flying a plane, and as many planes are out there, and none of them falling out of the sky, knock on wood, it's very safe. They can do it. It's harder than us. We can do it. It's more predictable. We're on the ground. This thing is there. Now, you have to have the financial discipline to invest in it. Airlines have a better financial discipline because your life's on the line versus in the car wash. But with that same mentality, practice, procedure, checklist, and a desire to, take good after action, we're a big after action. The reason they put a black box on a plane is so that they can have an after action. They don't record anything that goes well. They record it when it goes bad. So we're very big on after action and trying to be procedural on what, if something goes wrong, why did it go wrong? And if we have premature failure in anybody's equipment, how do we get better at that?
It's so I work in marketing, and just as much as I think that marketing has, it is an important part, but it's not the important part, right? I feel like car wash operators or car washes are so operation driven, right? It's like flying that plane, right? You can have the best marketing, but if you're on time, you don't delay flights, you land safely, like that. Those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference. So I like that analogy of these car washes are like an airline, right? And downtime is not something that you want at all. And like you said, like the pilots, like they're not the ones fixing the plane, but they know how to safely steer it, and they know how to identify the problem and then communicate that to who does fix it. So very cool. So I assume you're looking at, you've brought up space and airplanes. I take it you're kind of like, are you an aviation guy?
I am. My whole entire family was. I am not. We've been blessed to be able to have private aviation in our business. And so that is, I'm a little bit enthralled with it, but my dad was a pilot. Both of my uncles were pilots, just private pilots. And so, yeah, grew up in that level of discipline.
Yeah. So we touched on a little bit about like the future in the industry. Where do you see technology and its role? I know it's a big part of our tunnels already, but like every day it just gets more and more important. What do you see trending technology wise in our tunnels?
I think it's point is in the tunnel. I think it's going to be AI on machine learning and vibrations and stuff, knowing when motors, bearings, and other things are coming out, right? Those little widgets are becoming cheaper and cheaper for us to put in place and be a little bit better on the predictive there. Outside of the tunnel, I think, you're starting to see some pretty good leaps and bounds in the point of sale and really the data that we're gathering off the customer customer retention. You see third parties that have been able to piggyback on that. I think you're going to see a pretty big revolution there on that. Truthfully, I think AI is going to come into play here. I think there's a decent chance that AI starts to change prep and pre-soak and soap usage sooner than later. That's not that hard to do. Cameras can look at cars and tell a bunch, if you want it to. I don't think, again, the ROI on that, that'll be the driver of the pace there. I think you're going to, again, the battleground for the customer right now is inside or outside in the vacuum area. Certain people are bringing the vacuums inside into a semi-conditioned environment. Whether you're making that exclusive to a member or not, I think is going to be a differentiation of the brand. To use an airline analogy, Southwest and Delta do it different, and that's their brand identity. And I think you're going to see a few brands start to identify. There's some smaller regionals that do that as well with a pretty good success there. So, but I do think you'll start to see some custom abilities in AI and camera learning to start to cut down soap, water usage, the way that we do that, and timing, and even the prep, because labor and the expense there's some things that I think, that we're involved with, even that here in the near future, sub 5 years, more than 2, you're going to start to see in the industry, be able to really make a labor move for the industry, and a little bit more on soap cost too, possibly.
So it's looking at your website, you go to the About Us page, and it's, you have your president, picture of your president, you have your picture of your CEO, and right next to you is Chief Innovative Officer, right? So I think that probably says a lot about your company, and I don't know the full background, but a lot of times you might see a CEO, COO there, or CFO, but innovation seems to be kind of on the forefront of what you guys are doing.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to machine to market. What do we need to change to make sure that it's working in the environment? Is it a current technology in the space, or do we need to help develop it, or where that is? I mean, that's where our two companies, ended up partnering on the RO and reclaim. We saw some needs there on use of square footage in buildings, efficiencies, moving forward there that we weren't satisfied in, and all the metrics that we saw on the market. And, we still sell all the reclaims and ROs as well, because we just thought it was a part of the segment of the market that was missing. It wasn't that the current things weren't supplying it a good product. It was just there was part of the market that needed a different product as well.
So are you, in your research development side of things, are you guys putting AI at the top of that list or near the top of that list?
There are some things with camera learning, and there's some companies out there and that are doing it, and there's just even easy reporting on where the person is, right? Are the employees being efficient with their time? It's not our technology. It's out there. Everybody can go buy it and what have you. But add on to that, there are ways that we know that can probably start to be altered on a car, and selective prepping. I think customers will be okay with that, right? We really started prepping cars before we had Unlimiteds. That trend's continued for a lot of different reasons we don't need to get into, but that trend could reverse to help throughput and labor into the model. I think the consumers are and would be receptive to an AI, even if it's mainly marketing in some ways. But we can scan a car and say, hey, this one needs prepped in the wheel wells and other things like that. It's pretty easy for us to turn on a few other functions in there and make selective prepping an easy opportunity there, right?
I don't want to keep you too much longer, but we ask all of our guests this question and this is unrelated to the car wash industry, but we want to know what you're streaming or you're binge watching. And by we, me.
Yeah, so that would be me and my wife after the kids go down. Well, I'm here in Kansas City, so we just did quarterback, obviously with Mahomes being in there. So we just got done with that. We are Hard Knocks. We do Hard Knocks, quarterback, and my wife likes. I'm going to screw this up. Murders in the Building. So I'm coached into that once a week. I'm fine, sure, So whatever makes them happy. And
watching quarterbacks, and the last episode I saw, they had Mahomes was watching game film, and he was making reads like as they were happening. He was like, okay, if this guy, like, because he's doing this, it's going to open up all of this and blah blah blah. And it's just like, man, these guys are so talented, especially him. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the league, and just to see the work and the prep that goes into it, it's phenomenal. So congratulations to you guys. You have a great football team in the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, we've been blessed. He's definitely been able to lead that through. And one thing I took away from that is the fact that his training is metrics driven. So, and the way that they're trying to do that in time, and just get some metrics on everything that they're doing there and make training a competitiveness against yourself.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's
Chris,
pretty cool.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know our audience will get a lot out of this conversation, and hopefully maybe we'll have you on down the road sometime.
That'd be great. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much.